All right, another episode of No Notes Podcast. I think we have 2 page views from the last episode, so
I didn't
appreciate
click on them.
you.
So
Well,
did
accidental,
you?
possibly one of them. One of them
Okay.
might be mine, possibly a accidental click from somebody else, or just a early fan, I guess. But
Yeah.
either way, excited for episode 4. We're going to be building out a lot more of the pod in terms of the social media side and the production side to come. But we wanted to get the first few episodes out, test the waters a little bit. So happy for anyone who's joined this early. More than likely, if you're watching this, then you're going back and watching what it looked like from the get-go, maybe a few months from now. Either way, we are, it's Friday, June 13th. We're a little bit late on this pod. Yesterday, the podcasting site that we used was not working, so we weren't able to give an immediate reaction to the Pacers OKC finals review, but going to do it today. And again, the game's not till later today, so we got some time here. Joined by my tried and trusted Chenny Britt over here on the other side of the pod. Thanks for picking this up.
Yeah, man. I think we'll continue to grow this thing, and this is just raw shit, and this is the progression. So if you end up going to our YouTube page down the line and you sort by oldest, you can see this.
Yeah, this is where we started. Started from the bottom. Real quick before we jump into the game and what's more to come from maybe the ramifications of the finals. What happens if the Pacers win? What happens if OKC wins? All that. Just wanted to highlight that I got baited into an NBA on TNT shirt. Obviously, it's leaving TNT, and I was watching the broadcast, and they were selling shirts on, I think, like Bleacher Report or like a weird website. I think because TNT owns it for like $30, and I totally got baited into it. But
that's a great shirt.
yeah.
How much does it fit right?
Yeah, this is a large. It fits really well. I snagged it for $30, which is probably a bit of an overpay. It's just a print on a regular T-shirt. It's not anything crazy, but it seemed like the last opportunity to get something like that, and maybe it'll be a relic in 10, 20 years. Who knows?
That shirt's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm not a huge T-shirt purchaser. I more so focus on I like jackets and hoodies and stuff like that. But when the T-shirt, I don't know. If I go somewhere, I'll grab a T-shirt now and again. This one seemed like a good one for the collection, so
yeah,
snag that. I guess so. Just to give a quick overview of what we should cover today, I think definitely Game 3, obviously, and then the ramifications of possibly what happens if the Pacers win Game 4, OKC wins Game 4 for the rest of the series, and then we'll also be covering. We've kind of talked about it before, but maybe what this means for the NBA landscape this summer, depending on who wins. I think we chatted a little bit yesterday when the podcast equipment wasn't working about, what this could mean for kind of roster construction and how people look at building NBA teams and rosters and how people draft and what the effect it'll have on free agency and kind of breaking it down. But let's get started with the first part of the reaction, which is really just going to be the Game 3. What are your first initial thoughts here?
I think you and I are both shocked that the Pacers won. Once again, if someone's stumbling in for the first time, Flex's prediction at the beginning of the playoffs was OKC winning the chip, even before the Celtics had their injury. So credit to you for getting this far. Before the series, we both logically thought OKC was going to win in 5, maybe 6. We both are rooting for the Pacers, though. And I think I talked to you about this yesterday, dude. Them winning Game 3 was the first time where we were like, holy shit, I think the series is a 50-50 now. Because even after the Pacers won Game 1, we were both like, okay, that's cool. That was awesome. They're definitely not winning Game 2, which they didn't. They got blown out basically from beginning to the end. And we didn't really think, okay, the Pacers could actually do this. I hate to be like, say this because it's like obvious, but the only path for the Pacers to have had a real chance in this series was for them to win Game 3. Even if they had split it, or actually, let me say this. I think we both agreed that if they had lost Game 3, they're probably not winning game 4. So there would be no split. There's no split going back to OKC. I think the only way they could split as the underdog is to win the first of the splits. So they won game 1, which is needed, because if they had gotten crushed in game 1, I don't care how resilient you are. I just think that OKC team would have had so much momentum to close out game 2 and go 2-0 with home court. So they did the flip, which is what you have to do. You steal game 1 and just rattle them. And then, yes, you lose game 2. And then, boom, the series switches back to your home court. And you have to take that first game at home, because just momentum-wise, if you lose that first game, I don't know if you win that second game. So now, if they can win this third game, that's their pathway to win the series. Whoever wins this game 4, I think, wins this series. Because I don't see them winning at OKC in game 7. But if they win this game and they go 4, I think they lose game 5 and close out in 6.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because, I mean, I had, like you said, I had OKC as my pick before the playoffs started. And then I think going into the finals, I had an OKC sweep and you had OKC in 5 or 6. So we both, at this point, heading into the finals, we both, even after game 1, we were both like, yeah, we still think OKC is going to win.
Yeah.
But we also both want the Pacers to win. I think they're the more fun team, the more historic franchise. And I think it kind of reflects like the public sentiment as well. I think most people think OKC is going to win, but they want the Pacers to win. At least that's what I've had in my group chats. Seriously. And a little bit of team of destiny here, it seems like, with the Pacers, which is kind of fun. I agree. I think if the Pacers lose game 3, unlikely that they split at home and win game 4. And then if OKC's up 3-1, call it a series, right?
Yeah.
Now we're in an interesting kind of conundrum here where if the Pacers win game 3 or game 4 and they're up 3-1, maybe the series is kind of over. Because then, you're looking at having to lose 3 games in a row, which the Pacers haven't done at any point throughout this playoffs, and it doesn't look like they're going to. So this game 4 will probably decide the series. I think if OKC wins game 4, they should clear at home and go 7, kind of like what happened with Denver a little bit.
Yeah.
And if the Pacers win game 4, which I'm hoping they do, then I think OKC wins at home and it goes to game 6. And that game 6 is really that game 7. It kind of reminds me, this series, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Heat Dallas series in 2006. I know I think I referenced that on the phone yesterday, but where like the Heat are underdogs and like that game 6 is really their game 7. I always remember when they talk about that series, it was like, no, that game 6 was our game 7. I think it's the same with the Pacers. If they want to win this series, not that they're going to concede game 5, but I think that the OKC crowd will carry OKC in game 5, and then game 6, that's really the Pacers game 7. They've got to close out that game to win it. But I guess the shift in sentiment for me is I went into the series even after game 1, after the Pacers had won the first game, thinking OKC is just too good. They're too deep. I think they play a somewhat similar style on offense where they run fast, they're athletic, they're hard to stop, and they're going to outplay the Pacers at their own game, or not the same in this exact same way, but that fast-paced offense, and that's just not been the case. Well, what's your takeaway from game 3 on kind of, I guess, anything that surprised you or anything that stood out to you that wasn't the case in the first 2 games?
The biggest thing that surprised me for game 3 was Carlisle figured something out, and the staff figured something out to actually start breaking down OKC's defense, because they weren't in the half court. I think like Thinking Basketball they dropped a video on this that I watched last night, but it kind of just quantified what we were seeing in real time. It just felt like they were actually getting into the paint for the first time. Whereas game 1, dude, they that shit was miraculous. Game 2, they had no chance.
Well, game 1, they kind of relied on their defense down the stretch. It wasn't like they were scoring every time. It was more so OKC couldn't score in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
And OKC's half court isn't that good, but you literally can't score on them. So I thought game 3 to me was interesting because they were ready to get blown out until that's why, side note, if you're an OKC fan, you have to be so fucking sick to your stomach, because it's just one of those things where like, you played with fire and now you're 2 losses away from losing a championship that you should have won comfortably. They're like the biggest favorites that we've had, I think, in like the last 20 years or something, right? Off of gambling odds. They're bigger favorites than
For the
The
final specifically, right?
final specifically.
I mean, we're talking about a 1 seed that won over 60 games versus
68
what a
games.
5 seed. Like
Yeah.
this Pacers team, it would be the biggest surprise in my viewing history for the NBA in terms of the winner. I would there's not a team that has gone on a crazier run for me than this Pacers team.
Yeah, and so what's crazy is the script. If you just like hit NBA 2K Sim, the game was going the way it should have went, which is OKC came out, punched the Pacers in the mouth at home. It was like, man, this is just a better team. Pacers can't get shit, and they were up like 8, and that's when TJ McConnell stole like 2 straight inbounds passes and flip momentum. And those are inbound passes, dude. You cannot like those are basic fucking plays that you just have to execute on. And you basically gave away the game off of that because that flip momentum. And then what Carlisle was doing is they've just been, even if OKC fights over screens and switches screens on Halliburton, Carlisle is and the staff are literally like, all right, well, fuck it. We're just going to set 2 screens in a row or 3 screens in a row, just have them spaced out. And we're just going to play like mess hall basketball. And our guys always cut, and we have the best floor general in the series, so he sees everything. And we're just gonna make you guys switch a bunch of times and just keep executing your switch. Like we're not gonna do the fucking JJ Redick shit where it's like, oh, give Luka the ball, high screen and roll. Oh, we're gonna take 10 seconds off the clock. Oh, you guys fought over the screen. All right, Luka, like cook his ass. Like that's not what he's doing. He's literally saying we're gonna run up the court, which is what they always do, and then we're setting 2, 3 screens in a row. We're gonna constantly screen. And yeah, you get over the first screen. Can you get over the second one? Oh, you got over the second one. Well, now like can you get over the third one? And there was this one play where Halliburton, like it was like 2 screens. Halliburton goes off the first screen. They think he's gonna go off the second screen. He just crosses over and splits in the middle and just goes right in the lane for a fucking floater. It's like they actually figured something out against their half court defense. That's why it's a problem now. Because now if you're OKC, it's like you have to adjust to that shit. And my adjustment would probably just to be, honestly, fucking switch everything. Don't even try to fight over screens anymore. Like as crazy as that sounds, I'm done fighting over screens. Switch every single action and just try to keep them in front. And I would live with the Siakam one-on-one matchups in the mid block because you cannot let them get you into rotation and moving around. You have to keep it stagnant against the Pacers. And if you try to fight over these screens, they're setting too many screens to fight over all the screens. It's not fucking physically possible. I would just switch everything and just play one-on-one basketball and defense.
Yeah, I kind of picked up the same thing, which was earlier in the series, the first 2 games, it seemed like the only way the Pacers could score was by running. And like it was 50-50 whether they would score or turn the ball over. And that kind of fell into OKC's odds. The game 1, let's be honest, like OKC blew that game. Like it wasn't
blew that. They led 95% of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a Pacers masterclass. It was a OKC disaster. And what's changed for me from the game 3, which leads me to believe that the Pacers really do have a shot here, is exactly what you said, which is it's gone from the Pacers having to rely on kind of, not run and chuck, but just playing a certain pace to score or turn the ball over. And now I'm like, yeah, when the fast break's there, take it. But I'm also like, hey, if you slow the game down a little bit at certain points, I almost feel more confident in their half court offense when Nembhard has the ball. And then you've got Halliburton coming off screens and picking up the ball later in the shot clock. Because there was a period of the game where, and they're going to have to make a decision in game 4. Like, what is the message to the team? Are you going to run and gun, or do you want to slow it down? Because there are points in the game. I remember for me, it was Obi Toppin kind of got caught in the fast break. And
that play. I remember that play.
He went too quick.
Yeah.
And he threw the ball just essentially out of bounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man, if you had just held that and gotten into your half-court offense and started with Nembhard and then let Halliburton get on the ball, like that was working. And I think that OKC's going to counter because that's what this game is. That's what the series has shown up to this point is a lot of chess pieces being moved around. But my my confidence in the Pacers has grown because they found a couple of different ways to break down OKC, and it's not just run and gun. Okay, we'll either score or turn the ball over, because those turnovers were leading to OKC's points. Because like I said, at the beginning of the series, the reason why I liked OKC was because they play a similar style with the fast pace, and I think they're better at it. And so I just think that it plays a little bit more into the Pacers' hands to be able to choose if you want to go fast pace or if you're leading and you want to milk the clock, going more into a half court set. And that's what they did. I think they really managed game 3 well. I was really impressed with Mathurin. He had a tremendous game.
Fuck. He's never going to be a Laker now. Damn it.
I mean, he's never going to be a Laker unless you go up a lot or he comes in free agency. But his stock has risen tremendously. He's got that confidence, that unabashed confidence to, even when he makes mistakes, he just comes back. He's always confident on the ball. And I'm convinced he's going to score. He plays a little bit of bully ball. He can hit some shots. Like, he's got a lot to his game. He's the kind of guy, like Bill Simmons always says, like, is this guy who can be in your 5-man, lineup at 2 minutes left in a game 7? And I'm like, with Mathurin, I'm like, yeah, he could be. So he is definitely an asset, and he really impressed me. Miles Turner had a crap game. He was terrible. And then there were 2 plays that stood out to me. One of them was that block on the 3-point shot from Chet that I was just like, wow, well, he's been an idiot today, but that was an incredible play, and it kind of switched on for him. And similar to Halliburton, in I think it was game 1 where he just kind of turned on.
He was kind of ass for most of the game.
Yeah, exactly. He just turned on at the end of the game. It was kind of Miles Turner. This is more on the defensive end, but made a big play on the defensive end and then a big play on the offensive end as well. Kind of bullied his way into the paint and scored. And the Pacers just really impressed me. I mean, Rick Carlisle has this team humming. They're playing way above their individual capability talent-wise, and they're playing with some serious team spirit. And I think every single player that's getting serious minutes for the Pacers, their kind of off-season reputation, the reputation in the offseason is going to skyrocket. I think all of these guys, I mean, even the 3rd, 4th, 5th guy, like you're looking like Neesmith, Nembhard, people either didn't know about them, didn't get a ton of screen time on League Pass, or just weren't as well known throughout the league. They're all going to get the credit that they're due at this point, I think, win or lose.
Yeah, I think so I remember that Obi Toppin play, because dude, you're right. There was, like, in the 4th quarter, there were a few plays where they went too fast and they were just turning it over. Like Hallie turned it over once too, where Caruso like intercept, because that led to the flagrant foul, right?
The reach around, right? Where he reached in and got.
He just poked it.
And that was like 2 minutes left of the game, and I was
right. That could have been such a bad turnover, dude.
Well, and that was the Nembhard flagrant, which we all should
non-flagrant,
non-flagrant, but
yeah. It was the right call. It was the right call not to be flagrant. I almost thought for sure it was gonna be a flagrant, and then the game was gonna flip. But yeah, the Toppin fast break, I remember being so pissed because the first dribble he took, it went all the way to his head. And I'm like, no! Like, it's literally just like, grab the ball and just hold it and get it to someone. I saw the turnover coming a mile away. He shouldn't be allowed to dribble. Great, has been really good this series. He shouldn't be allowed to dribble. I think
he's been really good this series, though. Like, he's
really
prevented them from really going to Tony Bradley and Thomas Bryant, and
you got to limit the Thomas Bryant minutes. Like, those are pretty much all bad,
and that's huge. That's huge for them, just to be able to run out Siakam, Turner, and Obi.
Yeah, I think another thing is I liked how Hallie played. I think he needs to do. So I was seeing some things after game 1 where there were some NBA people who were complaining about why they would play TJ with Hallie at the same time. And I remember thinking the reason why they're doing that is because they need an extra ball handler. Literally, the OKC's defense is so good that you need the extra ball handler in there, like a real ball handler. So I actually liked that move. So yes, them playing Hallie off the ball and letting TJ handle it a little bit with Hallie on the court, or Nembhard handle it, or even Mathurin now handle it, is smart. I think the way Hallie played last game was perfect. If his rule of thumb is if he has the ball for 4 possessions, I think unless he's getting clear advantage in kicking it out for open guys or finding an open roller, every possession out of those 4, so 1 out of every 4 possessions, I need him taking a 3-point shot. I'm sorry, I need him shooting a fucking arguably bad shot. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He fucking took like early in the game, he took like a few quote unquote bad shots, but it's like, good, dude, fucking get into the rhythm of actually shooting. And then he hit some floaters. He hit some fucking huge floaters. Then later in the game, he's in a rhythm because at least he took shots and he was just fucking sniping from the 3-point line. I need him to take just like one 3-pointer every 4 possessions on the ball. Just one 3-pointer every 4 possessions. Because he's a fucking nasty 3-point shooter. And when he hits those are fucking backbreakers, dude. And then the defense has to come out. So he needs to do that. Turner was absolutely heinous for the first 3 quarters of the game. Was like, he was so actively bad. And then in the 4th quarter, we were texting. I'm like, Miles Turner realized that he's bigger than, or he's stronger than Chet. Chet's a tiny bit taller, but Miles Turner's like 6'11". Chet's 7'1". It's not that much of a size difference. And Turner is way stronger than Chet. And I think he realized, he's like, wait, I could just fucking bully this guy. And then he started just getting physical with Chet. Like, dude, you have to do that. He was playing small early on and just destroying the Pacers. Like, he was actively harmful. Mathurin's cutting ability is great.
And just his confidence on the ball. I think that so many guys are going to be scared against OKC, and Mathurin just I always feel confident in Mathurin when he has the ball.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. So they need to, like, there's certain possessions where if they don't have Siakam on the floor and Hallie's getting hounded late in the clock, just throw it to Mathurin if he's on the court and just see if he can get something. You just need those guys to like do something. At the end of the day, he was the 6th pick or whatever. So he was drafted higher than Hallie. Not saying he's obviously going to potentially be better than Hallie, not saying that. But the point is, if you look at this team just based on pedigree, the way it's constructed really is for Hallie to be the star point guard and for Mathurin to be the star shooting guard. That is ultimately what like the long run vision of this team is. So it's not like him doing these things isn't really that surprising. He is that good talent-wise to do these things. Now he's never going to be a Laker, which upsets me, but it is what it is. I think yeah. I like, we'll see how OKC counters. I would just switch everything. You can't fuck around.
Yeah, I've said this the last 2 pods. I hate what OKC is doing with their starting lineup. I don't like the case on Wallace starting minutes. And here's the thing. And I'm repeating myself for the 1 or 2 listeners that have been following us from the get-go. I like Case on Wallace. I think he's great. I'm really excited for his future.
Yeah.
I think right now he works best as the leader of, or the second option on like a second unit, and not as the 5th option on the first unit. And I know they're trying to match up with the Pacers and they don't want to do the 2 big lineups. They're trying to kind of match up the minutes to make it make sense with Hartenstein and Chet. I just like Cason Wallace giving you that extra energy in the second unit, because you have to win those bench minutes if you're OKC, and they got blown out in bench scoring in that game 3.
It was like 19-0 bench scoring in the first second quarter or something.
Yeah, they just, Hardenstein's not going to score a ton of points. So I just think they need an extra punch. And if I were OKC, I would start Wiggins. If you don't want to go too big, I would start Wiggins
or Caruso.
I kind of like Caruso as part of the second unit as well. But if you want to start Caruso, fine. If you want to start Wiggins, that would probably be my optimal lineup. And look, Wiggins is really just going to give 3-point shooting and some decent defense. But that's, I mean, from a starting lineup for OKC, like that's really all you need from that spot. So I just think if they did that and then brought Cason Wallace off the bench, he would just be so much more effective, because that's, I think, his optimal role right now in this team. I think he'll end up being a starting point guard in the league, but I hate what they're doing with the lineup change. And the other thing is that the Pacers have figured them out a little bit in the half-court offense, and I'm not really sure OKC's figured out their half-court offense. Like, their half-court offense to me is SGA gets to, they wait longer in the clock, SGA gets a screen, SGA gets to the spot he wants the floor, and he's unstoppable from the mid-range. But you can kind of lock in on that with a few minutes left in the game, and they don't really have a second option. I'm not convinced Jalen Williams can score down the stretch at a consistent tick enough to have that be a reliable second, offensive option. And as good as Chet is, this final seems the light seem a little bit bright for him. And I'm just OKC has to show me something in game 4. Even if they win game 4, they have to show me something in offense where it's not just SGA getting to his spot.
Yeah, I mean, their half-court offense isn't good anyways. They've relied basically on transition. I think Chet had a funny game because, like, in the first quarter, he was like the best player on the court. He was fucking dominant. He was punking Miles Turner, and then Miles Turner realized, like, in the fourth, he was like, "Fuck this kid," and he just went crazy, which is what he should have done because Chet's like 22 years old, so that's what you got to do. Yeah, dude, OKC. Shea didn't have a great game. There was one play in particular where he like drives baseline. He goes baseline, and then Halliburton, he's like trying to do his like ISO post on Naismith or someone like that, and then Halliburton just comes for a late double, and then Mathurin's playing the passing lane, and Caruso doesn't relocate. Like everyone's fan favorite, Caruso just stands at the top of the key and just like passively waits, and he waits 5 seconds before relocating, and then at that point, like, the advantage is gone. If he had just ran and cut and relocated closer to SGA, then Mathurin couldn't have played the passing lane. They could have swung it out. So there's just like little things like that. OKC is really good at cutting baseline once the ball is swung, but like they're not relocating on the perimeter. They're not moving as quickly on the perimeter to take advantage of Shea's like the attention that he's drawing. But dude, I still think it's their series to lose. And like it's like they're just fucking up so badly, dude. Like it's crazy. They need I mean, I'm not even that guy to be like, oh, it's on Shea. I don't even think so.
No, it's not. I think it's
I don't think it is. I think it's on the coaching staff, dude. Like they're just fucking making some really dumb mistakes. And why did Kendrick Williams came in the game, chucked a horrible three, and then gave up a layup in transition? And that like it was like a 5-point swing in one play. I was like, get him out of the game. What the fuck is he doing?
Yeah, I think again, I think this comes back to the lineup changes are impacting the entire team because they're trying to stagger minutes. And I think they're trying to fill in gaps with like 2 or 3 minutes from guys who probably shouldn't really be in the rotation or should be in the rotation in a super limited fashion or in certain game states. But part of the issue with Chet is that he was good in the first part of the game, the first quarter. I think he gets more tired when you stagger minutes because he has to do more defensively when Hartenstein isn't out on the floor. And so when you're staggering the big minutes, I think those are taking a bigger effect on his legs throughout the game. And you kind of need to save him for crunch time. One thing I've noticed with the Pacers is whether they're up or not, it doesn't really matter. They don't bring Tyrese Halliburton back in the fourth quarter until like the 8-minute mark.
Yeah,
like
they
rest him.
Their guys and they rest him.
They rest him the end of the third or the beginning, starting from the beginning of the fourth, depending on the game state, if they're on offense or defense. And then they rest him until the 8-minute, legitimately the 8-minute mark, no matter what. And then he's fresh for the rest of the game, and that works for them. And it's just, you got to weigh the pros and cons doing that because you could get down or get turnovers and it could flip the game. But when he comes in for the last 8 minutes, like at least you know you're getting your fresh best Halliburton. And then in the final 30 seconds when he does something crazy, you're like, well, maybe it was because he was fresh and he just had the legs to do it. And I don't know if that's exactly what I would do with Chet, but it plays into my thinking that I really don't like how they've changed how this team is constructed and how the minutes are distributed and what the rotation looks like.
Yeah, I think if I'm OKC, I think like fundamentally what they've been doing is like working. Just stay in your 5-man shell on defense. Now the Pacers are running you through a million screens. So you have to, this is for the coaching staff because they know more basketball than me, but you probably need to switch everything and just force the Pacers to shoot pull-up threes. Because the only guy that I'm really afraid of shooting pull-up off the dribble threes is Halliburton. And he's like, the way I would play it is I'd be fine with Siakam shooting pull-up threes. I'm fine with Nembhard shooting pull-up threes. I'm fine with Naismith even shooting pull-up threes because he's really a catch and shoot guy. I'm fine with Mathurin shooting pull-up threes. I do not want them like getting us into rotation. I would just keep the shell that you're doing. try to keep Chet away from the perimeter. So like even if he switches, I would tell Chet to play off. I would just tell Chet to play off and not be over aggressive. And Halliburton, just make Halliburton take 25 shots, 30 shots, kind of do the Luka approach. And if he hits them, dude, he's incredible. But he's not, his initial instinct isn't going to be like, oh, I'm going to pull 8 threes off the dribble. He's going to try to get guys involved, stay in that shell, try to protect Chet, like you said, because you're right. He got really tired, which was very surprising to me because I'm like, dude, you're 22. So they were wearing his ass down. They wore SGA down. And that's what I would do. And let the Pacers beat you from the outside when it's pull up threes. I wouldn't fuck around with this other shit. And then, dude, on offense, just don't inbound the ball right to TJ McConnell three times
and hit your free throws and hit your free throws.
Like momentum shifting plays, bro. Like momentum. They might have come back in that game. Like they were up 3 or no, they were up 4 late in the game, and then no, they might have been up 6, and then Caruso just throws it right to fucking McConnell, and then McConnell gets the layup. So like the play before McConnell gets the pick, like he got like 2 back-to-back picks. You know what play it reminded me of? I was watching this. This was against the Pacers. You remember the game 4 Miami Heat when they were down 2-1 to the Pacers? D-Wade almost fought Spo in game 3. Legacies are on the line. Like D-Wade had to get his knee drained. He was absolutely cooked by that postseason. His knee was done. Bosh was out. That's why I thought the Udonis Haslam stuff when he was like, Chris Bosh was our most important player. I'm like, dude, this is just like, you guys got to stop doing this shit. Like your most important player was LeBron. Your second most important player was Dwayne Wade. Like, let's just stop overanalyzing stuff. They went to the finals without Bosh. So not saying Bosh wasn't important. It's just, anyways, that game, I remember they were down like 8 points the entire game to the Pacers. They finally closed the gap in the second half, but there was a play where they scored, and then D-Wade immediately just did the circle round, stole the inbounds, threw it behind the back to LeBron. I don't even remember this, and LeBron just like laid it in. And dude, like you cannot fucking have those plays happen in the playoffs. Those plays happen in the regular season. It's a regular season game. It does not matter. Those plays in the playoffs are backbreakers.
They're momentum killers. Yeah.
Huge momentum shifters. Like those are like almost worth 4-point plays. Like you cannot fucking have that happen. Every possession matters so much. So, but I don't know. Is OKC rattled now? Like, I don't know how they were they responded well against Denver, but this is a different animal. This is a different animal, dude.
Yeah. I think that the thing with Denver is there's really only one way they're going to beat you. And that's through Jokic being effective and getting everyone involved. And if you can prevent him from getting to his spots and being able to pass the ball to whoever the open man is because you're collapsing on defense, then you're going to smother that team. And they tired out Jokic, and they fouled the crap out of Jokic. I mean, Caruso, heinous that he didn't get fouled out in every single game. But regardless, I think the Pacers offense is a little bit more multidimensional in terms of what they figured out and what they can do to beat you. I still have OKC in game 4. I think me too. I think the key for OKC is I think that they feel comfortable once they break open a big lead and they relax and they play their game. I think when buttholes get tight towards the end of a game and it's a close game, because this goes back before the Pacers series. In the Denver series too, they lost like every single close game. Like I just think that they need to have the cushion to feel confident, but when they do, then they're in great shape. So they just need to break the game open early and not blow it at the end. But that should happen. I mean, in game 4, like they should win. They should probably win by double digits, just in terms of like who they've got on their team. But it's not as simple as that. It's not played on paper. It's played in the arena, and that's why we want to watch the games. It's so exciting. But yeah, I mean, I still think that OKC should win game 4. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, dude, it's just like if they just play their standard game. But here's the thing. I'll say this: it's the NBA Finals. Like so it's like bundles are tight, and I can't sit here and just be like play a standard game because the Pacers are gonna fucking literally fight to make things interesting. So that's why I love the Pacers. But yeah, dude, if you're OKC, you need to value possessions, and I would say they need to slow down a bit because they are actually getting a little bit sped up. Now that I think about it, I think that's why they try to do the quick inbounds that allow TJ McConnell to fucking steal it because they're not looking. They're just like, all right, we'll get the ball up the court. It's like, dude, you guys don't need to do that. You're the better fucking team. They scored. Your half court sucks anyway. So why are you trying to speed the game up when they scored on you. You score off of live ball turnovers going the other way. If they have already scored and you're inbounding the ball, you guys aren't built in a way like they are, where the Pacers can score on you in 2 seconds after a made basket. You're not built that way. Just give the fucking ball to SGA. All right. Make sure that you're watching. Don't just stand still in the fucking corner when SGA is making his move, because they're going to send exotic doubles. You need to be moving as a player and then just fucking hit your open threes or make smart drive decisions. They're getting caught up in trying to play the Pacer style, which is like, we're going to inbound off a make. And look what you did. You threw the ball to TJ McConnell 4 times. TJ McConnell won them that game because it was going to be a blowout. It was literally going to be a double-digit blowout. And he just fucking comes in and makes the biggest plays I've ever seen. Not ever seen, but, like huge
If
plays.
I'm Indiana, though, if I'm in that locker room, if I'm Rick Carlisle, I'm going, hey, guys, this game 4 is the most important game of the series. We're going to go all out, meaning like we're going to play extra minutes. We're going to tighten the rotation. We're going to do whatever we have to do to scrape through and win this game. Because I do think if the Pacers win this game, the series is over. So if that's the case, I think we could see. I mean, look, the bench has given them a lot. It has, the Pacers bench. But I think we could see like Halliburton go, okay, I'm not going to go and fall back into the general routine of me not taking shots. And I could see him coming out aggressive and, really trying to establish the starting 5 or the 6-man rotation early with Mathurin and maybe a little bit of Toppin, but then tightening things up and really pushing and maybe playing extra minutes to some of the guys they like to rest, and really trying to squeeze this one out. Because I think, even in the last game, they sat Siakam for a while down the stretch. They just liked the lineup they had on the floor. So a lot of these guys have rest, and I feel like Halliburton gets a lot of rest. I'm like, he gets a lot of rest. He gets a lot of rest. So I wouldn't be surprised if in game 4, Carlisle was like, okay, this is the game. I'm going to play Halliburton full minutes. I'm going to play Siakam full minutes. And I don't know if it's going to be Nesmith or it's going to be Mathurin as kind of that extra player, because they kind of have to have Nembhard in the game for defense with SGA. So that kind of limits what you can do. I guess they can split the Nesmith and Mathurin minutes, but it'll be interesting to see which one of those guys kind of gets the nod in game 4. But I could see the Pacers going all out to win this game 4, because it could be the series decider. I think if they're up 3-1, they should feel really good about winning one of the next 3 games, especially at home.
Yeah, I think they're gonna need another big game from Mathurin too, because he's been the guy that's like broken open the half court scoring for them. His ability, by the way, to finish with his left hand on the right side is crazy. Like, it's like he's a really gifted finisher around the rim. That's like some kind of.
He hits a lot of shots. He hits a lot of shots.
He's a great free throw shooter too. Like, he's
90% from that line in the playoffs.
I mean, in the Knicks series, he kind of got like DMP'd, not like purely DMP, but he was in the doghouse. He played like 5 minutes in some of those games. And I remember there's one game, I forget what it was, where he came in, like kind of was all over the place on offense, but he hit huge fucking free throws. And I just remember being like, yo, being able to hit free throws in that moment when you haven't touched the ball and you like didn't even play is crazy. Like, this guy's a really, really rock solid, just mental, like just he's got it up there. And he's got elite confidence, and his real shooting ability and touch is like really, really good to just be able to come in and hit those free throws. Like, that was fucking crazy. So yeah, I mean, look, we both think OKC's probably winning this game tonight, but
yeah, we'll see.
I think here's the thing. I think they have to establish it from jump.
I agree.
If they don't come out and put that 8-point lead on, I agree.
It's all about the cushion they give themselves.
Yeah.
Just being conscious.
Transition to offseason.
Transition to offseason a little bit.
We want to talk KD?
Sorry. Yeah, let's talk about KD, but also just overall kind of roster construction, how this playoffs impacts that, especially with how the Pacers are built and OKC's built. And moving away from maybe more of the star power to a balanced team and a balanced offense. But let's get started with the big news, which is really KD's obviously going to move and where he's going to move and what kind of ripples that could cause for the rest of the offseason.
Okay. So I think 2 things. I'm not a KD fan. I'm a Braun stan. And I think what KD did in 2016 was like absolutely heinous. So let's just get that out of the way. I think if KD had I think KD cost Braun one extra ring. Because I think what would have played out if KD had, let's say KD stayed in OKC. Now, I can't blame KD for leaving OKC because I can't blame him for being like, I can't play with Russ. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for leaving
neither do
OKC.
I.
But even if he stayed in OKC, I think it would have been a 3-team race to get to the finals for the next 2 to 3 seasons. It would have been between Golden State, maybe Spurs actually, because with the Zaza stuff, like so Spurs, Golden State, Houston, OKC, those would have been clear-cut 4 best teams in the West. I still think Golden State would have been a tier above the rest, but it would have been a dead, it would have been a battle. I mean, OKC was down, or they were up 3-1 against Golden State in 16. You can't sit here and say like, oh, they're not like evenly matched. And I think in the East, it was clearly the Cavs. So I do think the Cavs would have kept being in the finals, and then it would have been a revolving door of those teams. And I think the Cavs probably split those finals. That's how I think it would have simmed out. But whatever. I will say this. I think KD post Golden State, I think he's been great. And I don't think he's been toxic. And I think this shit's been kind of unfair to him because I just want to say when he went to the Nets, he didn't demand a trade out of the Nets. Like he went to the Nets with Kyrie, and when they brought Harden over, we both agree that team should have won the championship in 2021. You had 2 of your best players get hurt, and a lot of things had to go wrong for the Bucks to beat you. And I feel
and they're what, an inch away?
An inch away if KD had smaller feet. But dude, to me, and like, listen, as a Braun stan, I've been in the 2015 playoffs where he didn't have his 2 best players. It fucking sucks. So the Nets should have won in 2021. Then what happened after was Kyrie didn't want to get the vaccine, and then the Nets were kind of like, well, fuck this. We're not going to extend you. Like, come on, man, just get the vaccine. And then Harden, I think at that time was probably mad at Kyrie, was just like, what the fuck? This guy just like won't show up to play. And then Harden's like, all right, I want out. I don't want to deal with this shit. So Harden gets shipped out. Then the Nets are like, well, we don't really want Kyrie part of this organization, really. So they ship him out. And then it was kind of KD left there holding the bag. And that's why he gets traded. So KD, to me, didn't blow up that situation at all. He played great. He would have been a finals MVP in that situation. I do agree with the consensus take, which is like KD's not a floor raiser, but if you put him on a team that's like functional, he is the ultimate ceiling raiser. But I think KD's been awesome post Golden State, and I don't think he's been toxic like people have said. I will say this: where he goes this offseason is going to be, it's going to be cataclysmic, because if he goes to the Spurs, dude, oh my God, like that to me is going to be so scary. I hope that doesn't happen. I want him to go to Minnesota because I think they'll still be a great team, and having KD and Ant on the same team would be pretty fucking sick. I would like that for parity better. If he goes to the Spurs, dude, I am seriously concerned if he goes to the Spurs. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because he's clearly going to stay West, and the West continues to just get awesome. And I like abolish the conferences when it comes to play. Like I'm at that point, man.
Has he put out a list yet?
It's hard to tell. I follow his boy Banksy or Bansky, and he kind of like, obviously he's not going to reveal more shit and stuff like that. He's KD's guy. But I think the list it's between the Spurs and Minnesota. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I don't know if they care about his list or not, but if they do, because they could trade him either way. But if he's going to sign, if the team that's trading for him wants the extension kind of promised, then you kind of do have to care about the list. The thing with the Spurs, they just have so much ammunition. They've got the second pick. They've got the fourth. I don't think they're going to trade the second pick for KD. He's too old. But I'm talking more about like a Giannis deal. I'm just saying in general, they have a huge arsenal of picks and players to send to these teams. Like you're telling me the 14th pick and, some of the younger guys on the team that can make up the numbers, like a Keldon Johnson and co, if you will, wouldn't wet the beak of Phoenix to at least maybe come back and then go, okay, we'll do that deal, and you add in a future first from another team that they have, because they've got some other picks from other teams, so it's like with a combination of picks, and they've got some young players, they've got some players on some decent contracts. They probably don't even have to give up like Vassell. It's like they have other guys, and they got the combination of those players and picks that are attractive, and they've got the 14th pick in this draft, which Phoenix could really want. I mean, if Phoenix is really trying to rebuild around Booker, 14th pick could be huge for them. It really could. So Yeah, I think it depends on what you're looking for, and it also really depends on where Spurs want to go with this team. Because if you go for KD, it's we're winning next year. It's like, yeah, we got to get Wemby back on the court, and we got to go for it. Because the window, it's like the LeBron window. It is like absolutely win now. So I'm curious whether like they're really going to push that hard for KD. If I were them, I would. Because if you could trot out like a lineup of Wemby, KD, Devin Vassell, Stephen Castle, and De'Aaron Fox, and then you've got like Dylan Harper potentially off the bench if they use the second pick on him, and you're probably trading like Keldon Johnson. But I'm just saying that they've probably got like a really good 7-man rotation. Then you add some vets in, and it's like, okay, now we've really filled out our roster, and they've got other picks, right? So it's just one of those things where if they wanted to go all in right now, they could. And if they don't want to do it with KD, they could do it with Giannis just as easily. I truly believe that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the fact that I think if the Spurs got him and like even if they didn't start off the year that great, because I think they will have to ease Wemby back, it'd be one of those teams where it's like in the back of your mind, you always know come March, April, it's like the Spurs are going to turn it on. And they could be like a serious threat, even if they're like a 3rd or a 4th seed. So yeah, that's a potential dangerous landing spot. I wouldn't really want him going to Minnesota either. If I were a West team, I think having him and Ant is one of the most dangerous. The thing with those two guys, I think their skill sets complement each other perfectly.
100%. But I think, so you're okay. But I think that's like in how good the West is. To me, it's just like, oh, great, another great team in the West.
Yeah.
Well, if he goes to the Spurs, it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, no. Listen, I agree with you. I just think if Ant takes the next step, and in terms of like a 1-2 punch, they might complement each other better than anyone else in the league. They really I think what Ant needs is a guy who's going to let him cook and do his thing. But when Ant has all the pressure on his shoulders, a guy who's also just going to be like, hey, I got you, and like can score a ton and is just an absolute automatic bucket. And that's what KD is. I mean, the thing I like about KD is that he's never been a guy that is like, I need the ball. I'm a ball hog. Yeah. I'm going to, I need it in my hands every possession. He's not James Harden, right? Like that's kind of the antithesis of that. So, he's a guy who's going to pick his spots. When he's hot, he's going to shoot, but he'll also get others involved and let others ball handle, which is kind of exactly what I was talking about in the first episode with making with making Ant the primary ball handler. Is if you bring in KD, you can make Ant the primary ball handler, and then you also have a secondary ball handler and secondary scorer. And I just feel like come playoff time, you're going to have to pick your poison between one of those guys. Because if you put too much pressure on Ant, then KD's going to beat you. And if you don't respect Ant enough, he's going to beat you himself. So yeah, that would be electric as well. Both of those teams would completely change the NBA landscape if he went there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and but I'm less like Minnesota. I would be like, okay, that's a good to great team on paper, but it's like it's still a competitive West. Like I could see like there are other teams where I'm like they could beat Minnesota. Minnesota could win. Like it's not like it's not like
it depends what they would have to give up. It would depend for me. It would depend on what they'd have to give up. Can they keep?
They probably give up McDaniels.
I know that, and that's down.
That's what evens it out.
I would really
they gotta get off
them
Randall.
To keep me. I know that. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I would if they could somehow keep McDaniels and get KD, that's when it's Spursy to me, where it's just still so dangerous.
No chance.
The problem is they gave up so many picks with the Gobert trade that it's they don't have the same arsenal of picks and players that the Spurs have. Which is why I'm kind of like, if the Spurs want to go all in, they can really, really easily.
Yeah, the guys I would get off of if I was them, I'd get off DiVincenzo. I thought he was like sneaky, so destructive for Minnesota in the play. I was in the Minnesota subreddit. I didn't do like the classic Reddit thing where it's like Lakers fan coming here in peace. It's like shut the fuck up. I was just like, hey, I don't watch the T-Wolves that much, but because they were talking about like they wanted more Shannon minutes, which I agreed with. And I was just like, hey, I don't watch the T-Wolves that much, but it just every time DiVincenzo touched the ball, he was doing something destructive. Like I know he had that one game where him and Nah hit a bunch of threes, but I'm telling you, man, it was so much early shot clock, chuck a 3, 5 feet behind the line, fucking foul somebody on defense. Like They got to get off him. They got to get off Randall. The Randall post-ups from the three-point line were so fucking
He's
ugly.
just not going to be a part of their future if they want to win. That's just like
100%.
we don't
And
need
it's like,
to.
we don't need
I
to
think
litigate
everyone knows the deal with Randall at this point.
Yeah, well, let me say this. There's
to,
some Randall defenders, and I would say this: we're not talking about Minnesota as a team that's like missing the playoffs. They've gotten to the conference finals back to back. The level now you need in terms of basketball IQ is so much higher. So he's not the guy.
I think Randall,
Gobert,
Randall's an obvious one. Gobert for me is 50-50.
You have to keep Gobert. I'm sorry, you got to keep Gobert.
With the money that he's due, though, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I get everyone hates Gobert, and for some reason, surprisingly, I don't hate Gobert. I don't like Gobert. I just don't care. But I think he has serious value, and he anchors that defense. And especially if you bring in a soon to be like 38-year-old Kevin Durant, you want like that crazy rim protector behind KD, because KD's probably going to get hurt during the season. He never has like serious injuries. He'll miss 2 weeks or something with an ankle sprain or whatever. Like it's kind of to that point. And you just have a defensive anchor. You play more of the young guys, and you play Rob. Let Rob actually see what he could do, but make the message clear to Rob, like, hey, you got to compete on defense. If you get to take some shots and run some offense, if you compete on defense, you don't compete on defense, you're sitting the fucking bench. So we're probably like, but they traded a pick to get to Rob.
No,
so
I know.
you got to fucking
with the Spurs. That was
with the Spurs.
I traded you on draft night.
Stupid trade. We both said we were like,
I said like that was so stupid because Dillingham's good, but it's a weak draft, and I just think in the future, whatever that future pick is, the Spurs will come away with a better player, and they didn't need someone right now to fill that role because they had Chris Paul coming in. So
I don't like doing the NFL thing either.
Yeah,
I don't like doing the NFL thing where it's like you traded a first to go get
a rotation,
unless
player.
It's like Wemby. Yeah, unless someone's like, all right, maybe next year's first, and you could go get Wemby. It's like, don't fucking do that. Like Rob's a rotation player.
I agree.
Like at his size in the playoffs, like come on, defensively.
Dude, I texted you that night. I know we both agreed we were like that was a bad move.
That was a bad move, and I overrate young players.
Just with, I know you do, but no, but I think it was pretty obvious at the time, and now it's kind of going to come back to bite them. He might be a good rotation player, but at the end of the day, you want your picks to be able to go all in when you need to. Transitioning, just conscious of time here, transitioning to kind of the last point I think we'll need to hit on is just how NBA teams look at roster construction, how the Pacers and to some degree OKC have proven that you don't need, a big three or, all of your money going to a couple of star players, and kind of building a organic team through draft and trade where you're building a team based on player profiles, based on 8-man rotations instead of, your starting 5, or even to 9-man rotations at some points, and kind of leveling out the money in the contracts where you have a couple players that are maybe a little bit overpaid, but your mid-tier guys are making good money, because at the end of the day, when you get to this point in the playoffs, injuries are always going to be a factor, and roster construction and team chemistry in this post LeBron and Steph era, is going to be paramount relative to I think you just needed to have the stars. During the Golden State era, it's like no one really had a chance. So no point talking about that. During the kind of LeBron era, which was a little bit before, a little bit after, teams had to try and match the star power. But now I think we're entering an era after those two where there's a bit more parity in the NBA, and building a deeper roster could be the way of the future, and building a bit more organically instead of going through transactions every offseason, and kind of building this team chemistry is the way to go.
Dude, see, this is why I wish we were talking about this once we had more listeners, but there will be plenty of time for that. You know me. You've known me for like 10 years.
You've been on this for years. You've been on this for years.
I have been on this for fucking years. And then people would I've been the guy who's always been on building organically. I'm super stingy with moving any sort of draft capital, which is the one thing where as a LeBron stan, I was always like, bro, no. Because yes, I overrate young players. Fine. But I think I'm going to be proven right in the long run, especially with where the NBA is going now. I was against the Anthony Davis trade. Now, obviously, you could say I was wrong because they wanted championship with it. I was always like, keep these fucking guys and then have AD come next year in free agency. I never wanted to give up all those picks. I hate giving up a ton of picks. I've always been against that. I was against trading Wiggins for K-Love when LeBron went back to fucking Cleveland. And people were always like, you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, you believe in young players. Like, this guy sucks. I've always been someone who's like, you should try out the G League guys. The Toronto Raptors literally won a championship promoting G League guys, promoting Pascal Siakam, promoting Fred VanVleet, like actual G Leaguers who then contributed and became real players. Because I always just feel like the star power stuff is just bail for coaches. You know how my basketball philosophy has always been. I've always said coaching matters so fucking much, and most of the coaches in the NBA are fucking dumbasses.
But I think that I agree with you. I think it mattered less when you're just like, what do I want to do? I guess I'm gonna get Steph Curry the ball with a screen.
All the teams that won, but to me,
or LeBron.
All the teams that, okay, fine, but I would counter.
But I'm saying this post Steph and LeBron era.
I would say even pre-Steph. Okay, but pre-Steph and LeBron era, the only pre-Steph and LeBron era, most of the teams that won championships were elite, super elite coaches. Even Doc in 08. People give Doc a lot of shit, but Doc in 08 had a veteran team, super high IQ guys that kind of coached themselves, but he also had Tibbs on the sideline, and Tibbs' defensive strategies in 08 were like cutting edge. Like, he was the first guy who was like, yeah, we're forcing you away from we're not letting you use ball screens. We don't allow you to use ball screens. So the Celtics were really well coached. But you look at the teams that won championships pre-LeBron Steph. Let's just start from 2000. Greg Popovich, Larry Brown, Phil Jackson, Rick Carlisle, Pat Riley. I'm just saying, man. So I've always been coaching matters. Most coaches are dumb. You should be cycling through coaches all the time because most of them aren't good. So you should cycle through them until you find one. It should be difficult to find a really good coach. And then that's a controversial view because you got to let coaches grow. My second view has always been draft picks matter. Young players should be given a chance. You should be scouting international. You should be scouting international. You should be scouting the G League all the fucking time. All the time. And that burned me for a while because teams would just make the wrong picks. They'd be like, oh, I'm going to go pick this guy or this guy. And then people would be like, see, young players can't contribute. But now we're moving into an era where guys like Ben Shepherd I think he's from Belmont. He was a guy I liked. I've been a draft fiend. All of a sudden, like, he's playing fucking huge minutes in the finals, bro. And that's why it's moving to a philosophy that I've always enjoyed. And this is what I got mad at JJ for, is not playing Koloko a lot more this year. There's another 7-foot white center in the Lakers G League team that should have gotten some time this year. That's why I hated Darvin Ham, hated his fucking guts. And I think, that's where it goes. The future of the NBA, and I'm not a genius for saying this. It's just, this was always the most obvious fucking thing. Like, why would you not try to moneyball it and explore, like, hey, we can go sign this international guy for super cheap and give him a chance. And we can find out if he can play or not by just sending him into training camp and just see if he can fucking play or not. Like, so many guys in the NBA have coasted on name recognition, not just stars, but role players have coasted on name recognition forever because front offices don't actually do legitimate scouting work. Do real scouting work.
And the other thing I would say to that is that I don't think teams use the G League correctly yet. Like, they haven't figured out. They haven't figured out, like, hey, when we draft this guy, we're going to send him to the G League with a plan. And the plan is he's going to be there for X number of months. Like, this is how we want to use him. And we're going to use him in that capacity in the team when he comes back. Yeah. And you want to play like a similar style that you play in your NBA, roster that you do with your G League roster, the same style of play. So you want to mimic what you're doing and then bring players through with those certain roles and really develop. I don't think that
it's a soccer academy thing, though. That's
exactly. When I was thinking about this, I was like, this is how soccer academies work. And I think the NBA is behind on the player development piece. They're so focused on getting a high draft pick and tanking and kind of doing it kind of the quick and dirty way. They know that the GMs just don't have the longevity on these teams to be able to do that. But if you want to build something special, this is how you've got to do it.
I would say, I got to rant. So you got 10 more minutes, right? Or like 5 more minutes.
3 or 4 more minutes.
Okay. The last thing I'll say is, even though nobody's going to hear this, but I have to just, if anyone ever goes and finds this deep cut, is the future of the NBA. They're not going to reduce the 82 games. I don't even want them to, because I want there to be 82 games. Like, I know I'm in the minority with that. I want there to be 82 games. All this is the coaching staffs that actually scout and have a plan. You have to now look at the NBA season almost the way Belichick in the past used to look at the NFL season, which is assume that 20 to 30% of your first stringers are going to get hurt. And it doesn't mean in the NBA, hey, Halliburton's going to get like, or all these, I don't even want to put that in the universe, but just our guys are going to get hurt. It's just your guys' minutes need to come down, and you need to actually work on developing and giving minutes to the 10th guy on the bench, the 11th guy on the bench. So more and more, I think it's better for the NBA because I think more fringe guys are going to actually get a chance to showcase their talents. They're going to play. I think more and more guys on the roster are going to get 5-minute shifts per game. You have to now actually use your full roster and strategically deploy them and look at the season as an actual marathon. Stars, it's not the stars' fault. Like, people are like, oh, the star, you can't just win with stars. You can't go star hunting. It's like, no, stars have been bailing out shit coaches forever. And now you can't just win with 2 stars anymore because the game has changed. So the stars can no longer bail you guys out. Do your fucking job. That's what I'll say.
I agree. I think we'll talk about it more expansively in the offseason because we'll be talking about drafts, we'll be talking about trades, we'll be talking about overall roster construction. I do want to do a pod where we talk about the best payrolls in the league and the worst payrolls and how we can maybe build out a squad organically for, say, like the Lakers or any other team that we want to pick. Because I think we'll have some time in the summer to do that. So that's it for No Notes Pod episode 4. Thanks for joining. If you're listening, if you're running this back in the future, hope you enjoyed it. Lots more to come. We will be back with a game recap and another pod after game 4. Thanks again to Chenny, Britt, and we will see you next time.
Yep.